Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. I was almost about to say Kerbal Station Program. I guess that is what this is, isn't it? That seems about right. We are taking what has apparently in the comments been affectionately dubbed the wine bottle out to Jool, and that will take a little while. So first things first, we are going to go ahead and warp up to the moon. Hello, moon. We are going to be warping into the moon's... Oh, hello. This is actually not great that we're in Kerbin's shadow right now. There we go. We're going to warp up over to the moon here, and we'll do this flyby. We're no longer in auto time warp because I'm dumb, but we are going to go ahead and warp up to right on over here. Goodbye, moon. Thanks for the gravity assist. And there goes Minmus. Later, Minmus. I canceled the auto time warp again, because I continue to be dumb. But the good news is, we can just find ourselves a location out here. There we go. And I'm going to try not to cancel this auto time warp. We'll see how successful I am. But now that we're out here, we should have no problem with our power levels. At least until we start pulling away from Kerbal over here. That's going to be interesting, to be sure. So, let's go ahead and set Jool as our target. We are basically at the ascending node, so let's go ahead and flip over to anti-normal and do what we can here. I think the ascending node is going to get pushed this way, which isn't necessarily ideal, but let's go ahead and change our inclination here to match that of Jool, if we can. See what happens with that ascending node. Again, I think it's going to get pushed away from us. Yeah, I'm fairly certain it's getting pushed away. Which probably means we'll have to wait until we get to the descending node here in a bit, but we'll see how close we get. I mean, it'll be a while until we get to the descending node, right? Luckily, we did push out our apoapsis a fair amount already. That's great. And we are going to be burning out our liquid fuel fairly soon. I say fairly soon. We've got a fair amount of liquid fuel left in this. Okay, only half a degree away at this point. 0.4. 0.3. Any moment now. 0.2. 0.1. I think we might be okay. Maybe. There we go. 0.0. We'll call that close enough. We are now in plane with Jool. And the question is, if we wanted to intercept it, that'd be like out here, right? Pretty close, actually. That was quite close. We'd want to burn something kind of like this. We'd want to put this in a fairly low orbit over Jool, although I don't actually know what the atmospheric height is on this. No resource data available. That's fine. I don't actually want resources. I want the atmosphere characteristics. 200 kilometers is the atmospheric height. Okay. So we now know that we need to stay above 200 kilometers. And let's just see about tweaking this maneuver a little bit if we can get it selected. Nope. This one. There we go. So let's bring this on in, and that's radial and anti-radial there. I guess we're going to just do it in the... I'm dumb, aren't I? Yes, I mean, we already knew I was dumb, but I believe I deselected the maneuver node. Yes, I did. Okay, so we are just going to use the graphical maneuver editor, and we're going to bring this in a little bit. Okay, so we can see here, this is the closest that we get. I don't really want to do additional burning. You can already see this is a pretty intense burn. So let's just tweak when we do this burn, shall we? That is actually still quite far away. Okay, I don't know how I moved that. But I'm not apparently able to move it back. So we're going to move it back from this angle here, and we're going to watch this periapsis level. Okay, that comes in retrograde. That is very inclined. Okay. I'd rather not be that inclined. Thank you very much. We're going to... No, not do that. We're going to reduce this down like so, and then we're going to need... Turn this scale down a little bit, and bring this up. That's 1 million meters. This atmospheric height is 200,000 meters. Interesting, isn't it? We're going to need to turn this scale down even further at this point. Yeah, okay. That's correct. Let's aim for about 250 kilometers here. 276 is maybe close enough. This is very sensitive at this distance. That I'm going to call close enough. Okay, now, in terms of being in the orbital plane, we're not exactly there. So let's just tweak this a little bit, like so. We're still not exactly there. We're kind of close-ish. Let's just call that good, and then bring this out ever so slightly here. That was way more than I wanted. Okay, so we're going to need to, like, modify this somewhat manually, I think, which is not ideal. Not ideal in the slightest. That said, this is enough, in theory. But yeah, I want to aim for like 250 kilometers here, not meters. 250 meters would be... Ooh, that was lucky. Now we're going to need to change our inclination, but that's okay. We'll line up for that burn. That burn is going to be in a year and 35 days. So we should probably not warp that time exactly now, because we do have something else that we need to work on. So let's hop on back to the Space Center, and we've got over a year to work on this. That will be fine. And what are we going to work on? Well, the answer to that is that we are going to work on our scooper planes. This is the this is the mission control. This is not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to the space plane hangar, and the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to make this a modification of our Corvette. So this is our space-capable Corvette. Now, I'm thinking here, nuclear engines are not exactly refuelable in the current setup, right? We're not anticipating this to come back. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as, I don't know, Jool gas scooper. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and save that. So we got to get this thing off the ground, right? And this should be enough to get it there. We do still want these planes, plane wings and control surfaces and things like that. The unfortunate thing is none of this can store xenon gas. Because what I would prefer to do is replace these here with Dawn electric propulsion engines. Which would, of course, be the same thing that we have on the other craft. These guys. Although maybe, like, larger clusters of them. So, like, engine plate. And this would be the 12 engine plate, like so. We'd put this in mirror mode. There we go. And then we would set these attach nodes to be, say, quad. And then we would put these guys in here, kind of like this. They overlap slightly. That's okay. Like I said, the unfortunate thing here is this bicoupler and its liquid fuel. We're also going to need to change the fact that this is manned, and we're going to need additional power generation. There's no doubt about that. The ASAS is good. So we're going to pop this off, we're going to pop this off, and we're going to put in, instead, a remote guidance unit. Is this remote guidance unit too large? I believe it is. That's the extra small. We want this size of remote guidance unit. So we do something like this. And then we probably want to replace this back here. So we're going to take off this docking port junior. We're going to take off all of these parachutes. They are not needed. The air brakes are also not needed. That is wasted weight for this particular design. Now, these photovoltaic panels, they're going to need to be upgraded. We are going to pop off this adapter, and we're going to replace this liquid fuel fuselage with xenon canisters. So that's going to be this size? Yes. Okay. So how many is that going to be? That's going to be like 1, 2, 3 approximately. 1, 2, and 3. Is that correct? It's like 3.5. Let's go up to 4. Because we did truncate our nose a little bit. So we're going to then put in this guy down here, not in mirrored mode. Straight up and down. Like that. This is definitely going to look a little bit different, right? But I'm going to put on a shielded docking port here, I think. Is that of the... That's of the standard size, right? Not the junior size? So that's definitely a concern here. Let's see. Yeah, that's just a regular Clampotron. That would go on here in theory, and then we would open that shield, and we'd have a docking port that could attach us to the front of our station. But it does not attach us to the sides, right? I'm actually going to double check that. So we're going to attach this right here. And yeah, I know we have a bunch of liquid fuel here that we don't necessarily need. We are going to need it later. Well, maybe not the liquid fuel in the wings. But let's go ahead and save that, and let's hop out of here. I want to check. I can't remember if I used Clampotron docking ports or Clampotron Junior docking ports on the wine bottle. Let's find out. So we're going to hop into the VAB here. And we are going to open up the Jool station. Those are docking port juniors. Okay. So we'll leave here. And that's fine. Well then, that's mission control again. We'll hop into the spaceplane hangar. And we are, of course, going to see about getting a docking port junior onto the nose of the Jool gas scooper. This, of course, can store oxidizer, and so we shall. And we'll run that fuel into these tanks so that we can burn it. But we don't have any real way to burn this liquid fuel, so we'll just not carry that. Let's go ahead and run a fuel line from here into here, like that. And that should be in mirrored mode. So from here into here. There we go. So we'll be draining the fuel out of here. Now this may make our nose pitch up even worse. Especially since we've truncated our nose a little bit here. Well, let's go ahead and put in a adapter here. I mean, that's a very large nose cone and not an adapter at all. But what we would be looking for would be an adapter more along the lines of... Not that. Well, this, but smaller. This, but smaller. These are fuel tank adapters. And I guess that's okay. We don't necessarily mind it being a fuel tank adapter. Let's go ahead and do a search. Adapter. and we'll find the correct adapter size. It's not going to be a Kerbodyne, I can tell you that. I think this guy. That only carries liquid fuel, so we're going to need to empty that. And then we're going to place our docking port up front here. Now the question is, how much can a docking port junior take in terms of max temperature? 2000 Kelvin. Okay. That should, in theory, be okay. So the docking port junior goes there. We're going to need comms and power on this thing. So, as far as power goes, I'm kind of thinking we're going to need quite a lot of it. We're going to put in a rechargeable battery pack here. In fact, I'm going to do 2. We're going to move this guy up a bit to be like here. That's not exactly straight, is it? No, it's not. So we're going to rotate that slightly. That is not quite the rotation we're going for. We're going to rotate that slightly to be like that. And possibly move it up a bit here. Up inside. Like so-ish. Okay. Now, I'm not convinced necessarily that these are going to do the trick, and they're going to run out of power fairly quickly as we are attempting to take off. We may need to wait to turn these on, because we don't want to run out of power in this. We do want to have some Gigantors, and we're going to put a pair of Gigantors here, as well as a pair of Gigantors in radial symmetry mode. Up here. Okay. So we'll just position this a little bit better. Use the move tool to snap it in. We want to use snapping. Okay, it snaps to there, which isn't ideal. I'd like to move it in a little bit. That'll work. And then we'll just position it basically in line here. And we'll do the same thing here. Position that in and in line here. Now, we don't have RTGs, so we're going to have to be reliant on these. Now, how are we going to do our scooping? So, keep in mind we have all of this empty liquid fuel area here, and we'll have all of this empty liquid fuel area as well. The idea behind that is, of course, that that's going to be where the gas gets scooped into. So we'll need a gas scoop, and that'll just be something along the lines of these intakes. Let's see. A couple of radial adjustable ramp intakes like this in radial mode. Apparently I can't go into radial mode here. There we go. And we'll do something like... That went back into mirrored. There we go. We'll do something along the lines of this. And the idea behind that, of course, is that that intakes the fuel, or intakes the gas, rather, and stores the gas in these empty tanks, which will be empty by the time we get there. There's also this tank here that it could theoretically store it in. We don't have any jet engines to take this. Of course, this is purely fictional. The question is... Yeah, thrust weight of 0.00 at surface here. The question is, does this get into orbit? This is a lot more expensive because of all of the electric propulsion. So we're going to save this, and we're going to do a simulated test flight. Let's see if we can get this into orbit. And if we do, there should be absolutely no problem. I believe this should be a fair amount lighter than our previous Corvette. Well, that's problematic. So this isn't just a visual bug then. There's physics enabled on these. Isn't that fascinating? So what part did we lose there? Well, we lost this Gigantor, for sure. Did we lose anything else? I think it was just the Gigantor. So, in order to fix this is a bug. In order to fix this, we're going to go into cheats, and we're going to do unbreakable joints, no crash damage. And then we're going to revert this back to launch, and we'll get those reset. Because they're not supposed to be extended when we go out, right? That's a restock bug. I'm pretty sure that it's restock anyway. Hopefully there'll be an update to that soon. But yeah. So, apparently these are physics enabled. We'll do that. And then retract it. Okay. And then retract all of these. And then we're going to go back in and turn those off again. SAS on. We don't need brakes on. And let's work on taking off. As I said, this should be quite a lot lighter than our previous craft. That said, we do have the oxidizer that we didn't have previously, so it might be about a wash. But it'll get lighter faster, at any rate. So in order to take off here, we're having to burn quite a lot more. So we might be a little heavier, actually. Now that was interesting, wasn't it? That was quite interesting, in fact. Okay. Well, we'll just chill out here and see how far we get. I don't expect it to maybe be absolutely the furthest, or to necessarily be absolutely the furthest. But we'll just chill here. I am noticing that we are not pulling fuel. Why are we not pulling fuel here? We should be pulling fuel and oxidizer from these tanks because of these fuel lines. Maybe it's going to burn out these tanks first and then pull? But I would expect it to do the opposite, in all honesty. We're having a little bit of control issues here. We're not shocked by this. Especially as our weight, our center of mass and our center of thrust is changing a bit here. So I want to find out, yes, we are pulling from this now. Okay, so I want to prioritize basically the opposite, don't I? Also, the fact that we were able to take off, but we didn't have the pitch authority to take off there, indicates to me that we should probably start with burning our solid rocket motors and our liquid fueled. Well, maybe. Oh yeah, that's going to be a thing. Okay, I'm just going to leave, for the sake of these simulations, I'm going to leave that off, and we'll revert that back to the launch. We don't actually care about putting it on the pad, right? That's not a problem. I definitely need to check if they've updated ReStock. This is becoming an issue. Pretty major one, in fact. Okay, so we're going to get these extended and then retracted. There we go. Okay. So let's try also burning our xenon thrusters at the same time. Now, we're not expecting this to actually contribute much thrust, right? Not much thrust at all. SAS on, throttled up. I am expecting this to consume a lot of electric charge. And yeah, that does consume a whole lot of electric charge. Okay, what's this thrust to weight like? 1.01? This should, in theory, be enough, but you can definitely see our electric charge. Okay, there we go. You can definitely see our electric charge is dropping fast, and now that it's gone, we have no attitude control. So, that was fairly expected. I'm going to continue to fiddle with this. I'm also going to check for a restock update because this is very obnoxious. There's no doubt about that. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and next episode, we are going to see about getting all of this into space. See you all next time.